Take this Bible. In times. What? Pray for the Holy Spirit here, give you power. Let's get it. My Bible is a key to survival. Have faith, let the Spirit guide you. If you ask, I believe I do. My Bible is a key to survival. We gon' rise up when it's time to lose. Got power inside you. All you need is your Bible.
Khan, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to give honors to the brothers and sisters who are keeping the Sabbath day holy, those who keep the Sabbath day today, as well as those who keep the lunar Sabbath. You know, Most High willing, you know, when that time comes, you remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, right? Want to give honors to the brothers and sisters who are out there laboring, doing the work of the Lord right now on the highways and byways. But there's your brothers from the Hopeful Elect coming at you with another Sabbath lesson, you know, titled Keep the Tabs Open. Now, I know it was kind of music playing. I want to say fair use, but the music at the beginning, I wanted to play to listen to that chorus or listen to that hook because it says something important. You know, my Bible is the key to survival, right? And with this lesson topic, you know, we're going to be going kind of touching on that just a little bit. Not necessarily the song, not necessarily the lyrics, but more importantly, emphasis on how the Bible is kind of like your key to survival to an extent. So again, want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God for another opportunity to come edify, you know, our people, right? Now, some of y'all may ask, you know, why did I title this lesson kind of Keep the Tabs Open? And I had a few reasons that I wrote down. So I think the most important thing was because it serves as a reminder, right? Of the way things used to be to an extent. And I wrote also down allowing us to glorify the Most High for what is and what will be. Now, what is meant by keep the tabs open? The brothers on the screen, as well as myself, you know, we're in the midst of our Feast of Tabernacles, right? So right now we're dwelling in tents. And I wanted to just kind of use a little pun, right? Keep the tabs open. Tabernacles is, you know, tabs is short for tabernacles. But again, you know, just wanted to use a pun to try to like tie something in that's happening in the world to something that's happening right now spiritually, right? And like I said, use that title to be specific about, you know, remembering the things that used to be and glorifying the Most High for what is and what will come, you know, or what will be, right? I'm saying that with emphasis because right now, you know, in the world, we have like some type of things going on where people have experienced a natural disaster, right? So a hurricane came through parts of Florida, majority of the state, well, pretty much all of the state of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina this past few days, right? So we've been dealing with extreme weather, power outages across the state. You know, I think upwards of 4 million or 3 million people in the state of Georgia are without power right now. But again, I said thanking Salakia, my bad. I said glorifying or using tabs to kind of keep in mind how things used to be, because in situations like this where you experience a natural disaster, it does cause you to reflect on how things used to be. It causes you to be grateful for the things that you do have, because on an instant, you can lose it all. People have lost their lives over this past weekend, this weekend thus far. People have lost their homes. People have lost their means of transportation. People have lost their sources of food and water, right? Some people, jobs probably got destroyed by some of the things that transpired during the course of this hurricane, which is why, again, I said keep the tabs open, because, you know, like me, when I search things on my phone, a lot of times I keep my tabs open, even when I'm finished searching. Why? Because I like to go back and refer to it, you know, when I need it, right? Or if I'm looking for other information, I keep that tab open so I don't lose my spot that I was at. That way I can make it make sense to myself, right? So that's why the lesson is titled as such, right? And going into a little bit, I wanted to show some pictures, right? I wanted to show some pictures real quick about this storm, this hurricane that took place. So let me show these pictures real quick. Because again, this lesson was titled the way it was for a reason. And I want that reason to make sense to you all, the viewers, and the brothers on the screen as well, who add a word to this so that way you can understand where I'm coming from. I know that I'm the type of brother that kind of like, want to be interactive when it comes to lessons and want to, kind of go against the grain sometimes. And I do that because me personally, it helps keep me engaged myself, and I know it'll keep you all engaged as well. So I just want to show these pictures real quick, right? Now, again, fair use. All credit goes to Fourth Take and the streaming site or the public app of Facebook, right? But again, it says Hurricane Helene aftermath in Augusta, Georgia, right? So what we're looking at right here is some pictures that took place. Look at this. Look at this, right? All these trees that's knocked over. Now the house is still standing, but we can't see any damage that may have taken place on the backside, right? But look at this. Street lights out. So people are driving without no sense of, light system to give them a direction of when and when not to go, when and when not to turn. So people are kind of directing themselves. This is a whole sushi bar, right? And half of their wall is gone. So you can tell a lot of the foundations, a lot of the buildings that were built in this city were built on foundations that could not weather a storm. So that is something to keep in mind moving forward. Because at the end of the day, they're going to have to prepare for the worst a lot better than they had this time. This is another picture, right? All of these images that I'm showing you are literally from the Facebook page. Look, somebody's whole house. And there's more pictures that, we could see. Again, another house. A car had a tree fall on it. And there's been more cars, more houses. A whole billboard sign fell down, right? So all of these things happen. Again, all of these things happen because of a storm that took place. Going into last week, a lot of the people who were impacted, just based on the pictures that we've seen, right? They probably wasn't thinking about no hurricane for real or what they would do in a situation that would cause them to be without power, food, and water, right? That would probably prevent them from being able to leave and go to certain places because trees are down or power lines are down and it's backed up and blocked up, People have no wherewithal sometimes about what happens. That's why, again, I titled this Keep the Tabs Open, because if you're somebody like me, right, your search history matters, right? What you search matters. And it's important for you to know, I guess you could say it's important for you to know, again, what was. So that way you can be grateful for what is and what will be, right? And I want to pull up two more pictures. I'm gonna pull up two more pictures real quick, all right? So let me share this tab. This is what it says right here, right? I got these all from Facebook, but it says Mimi Brown. She says, I hope this taught everyone to tighten up on their survival skills. Money can't buy that, right? And that's important to know because a lot of people have money, right? But a lot of people don't know how to survive. So when your money is useless, what can you do? People got money, they got cars, they got clothes, shoes, you know what I'm saying? But they don't know how to use a chainsaw to cut down tree limbs, right? Or they didn't buy a chainsaw because they never thought they would need one, Hey, people got money, but shoot, they don't got no wherewithal of how to start a fire, you know what I'm saying, without using typical coal and lighter fluid, right? People have money, but they don't have no understanding about, how to cook on a grill, right? Because there's no electricity. You can't use the microwave. You can't use the toaster oven. You can't use the stove. So now you got to use the grill. You got to use nature to help you endure this affliction that you're going through, right? And that's why we titled this "Keep the Tabs Open," because again, the whole pun with the title and what the season that we're in is tabernacles, tabs, right? And that was a whole 40 years that we were dwelling in the midst of nature, right? In the midst of being in the elements. And not to say that we never had or it was any different, right? Because there was a lot of people dwelling in the elements back then. But the difference is that, again, this is supposed to serve as a reminder, right? This is supposed to be that tab in your life that you kept open because you looked on it and you was like, dang, man, I'm grateful that the Most High brought us thus far, right? We don't understand how good we got it sometimes until it's gone. We have houses that we live in. We have electricity. We got AC. We got water, and it's ready accessible, right? Some people complain about afflicting themselves one day for the Sabbath day to not be able to do certain things. And to me, that's crazy because it's just one day that you have to make a little sacrifice. And low key, it's a blessing that you're able to get rest. The same way it's a blessing that we have these precepts to be able to give us an understanding of how to survive, right? That's why I played the Rock song. My Bible is the key to survival, right? So we know that seeing these images, man, it's a blessing. And we know that at the end of the day, the Most High works in mysterious ways, right? So without further ado, let me get let's go into the Bible, right? Let's start going into the scriptures because I don't want to be too much long-winded about my reasoning for naming the title the way it is, right? We want to start going into the scriptures to, further edify the people about what the title says and what the storm happened, what happened with the storm relates to, the Feast of Tabernacles, how it relates to us. We're not going too much in depth to it because like I told the brothers before we got on, this is going to be a 2-part lesson. So part 2 will be next week, and we'll go more into detail about tabernacles, why we keep the Feast of Tabernacles, why do we dwell in the wilderness for so long. But today, I'm just giving you a little bit of taste. This is an appetizer, right? This is your hors d'oeuvres, right? So let's go to the scriptures real quick. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 55. If a brother could read this, and could you start at verse number 8? And we're going to read verses 8 through 11.
Isaiah 55 and verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. You said through 10 or 11?
Through 11.
For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but what watereth the earth, make it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it.
Right. So the word of the Lord is not going to return unto him void. Now, Brother Yeshai, why did you have Brother Denal read this? You know what I'm saying? Why did you say God works in mysterious ways? And then you say, well, his thoughts are not our thoughts, neither his ways are his ways, right? Because again, the Lord told us again in Isaiah, right? Let's go to the next precept. Let's go to the next one. Precept or scripture, you know what I'm saying? Oops, I spelled this wrong. Isaiah chapter 46. All right. Let's start at verse number 9. And we're going to read through, we're just going to read verse 9.
Isaiah 46 and verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me.
Right. So, again, remember the former things of old, because at the end of the day, the Most High said, in times past that we have to keep his commandments, you know what I'm saying, in order to receive life, right? So the only way that in today's time that we're going to receive life is through the keeping of the commandments of the Lord, right? I say that like a broken record, and I'm always going to say that and stand firm, 10 toes on it, right? Because our thoughts are not the thoughts of the Lord. How he reminds us to do the things that he wants us to do for him is different from how you would remind somebody. Some people, that don't believe in the Most High God or don't have a strong faith in the Lord, they say, well, why would God do this to remind us of this? Why would God do that to remind us of that? It's not for us to understand. It's for the Most High to know and for us to obey, right? And there's no negotiation between that, right? Only the Lord knows why he does what he does, right? He calls to remembrance the things in the way he does it because of he's the God of all gods. He can do what he want to do. It's not for us to question it. It's just for us to obey his commands. It's for us to take the scriptures that we have. It's for us to take the situations that we're in. And it's for us to remember the commandments of the Lord and follow them and do them, right? And walk diligently in them. So that's why, once a year, 8 days out the year, brothers sleeping in tents, sisters sleeping in tents. That's why one day for 8 days out the year, we're having a feast of ingathering, right? That's why we're going through these things, because again, it's to serve as a reminder of what was. That way it can help us be more appreciative and grateful for what is and what will be. Now, the will be we'll discuss in the next lesson, right? But right now we're focusing on the what was and what is. What was is that we dwelled in booths for way longer than a few days. 8 days ain't nothing. These people lived like this for 40 years. So thinking about being a parent or a family, right? And you got multiple children. All of those children living in tents, man, living in booths. That's not an easy task. And I can say that firsthand because I got 3 children. And let's just say, man, getting them to go to sleep when we sleeping in tents together is one of the hardest things in the world to do. Go ahead, Salakia.
Nah, Khan, man. I just wanted to bring out too, man, that 2 things. I find it funny that this hurricane hit during Feast of Tabernacles season. Right. I had a conversation with my mom and she was saying this Feast of Tabernacles, she wanted, to not glamp, so to speak, glamorously camping, where you see people with the fancy tents and they got all the electricity in there and, it's highly comfortable. She was saying she wanted to do it more authentic, right? More wilderness oriented. And I briefly talked to her on the phone because they really ain't got reception unless they go to the grocery store or something like that. But I talked to her briefly on the store and I said, man, you kind of got your wish, you know what I'm saying? Because they're without power. And not only that, man, the environment in Augusta right now is just a wilderness type of environment. And I find it funny how, this all is happening right now during Feast of Tabernacles season. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like the Most High is showing us like, hey, this is for real. Whether your tabernacles revolved or wound up being around right now or later or a little bit before, it's still within this tabernacle season, man. And I think he makes no mistakes. And I do think that certain things happen like this just to let his people know and reassure them that they're on the right track of what they're practicing and what they're sowing. And I think it's something that we all got to take heed to. And we also see, like the brother's been going into, we also see how it affects people in the truth and people that's not in the truth, right? People in the truth, man, if you notice, man, they're not really going super crazy over it. We've been practicing these things. We've been keeping the Sabbath, things like that. We've been kind of on this, this tip of we really know that there's going to come a time where we're going to lose everything. You know what I'm saying? So when stuff like this happens, it doesn't really affect us like it does the sleeping person, right? That's in the world when they're waking up and they're making these complaints because they didn't take the time to, invest in knowing how to do things without power, without water, things like that. They really never considered it because they really believed that we were living in a land that would never happen to. We were living in places that would never happen to. And so now a lot of people are coming to this conclusion where Now they're two basketball teammates I had. One of them, a tree fell through his kitchen, man. The whole kitchen trash, right? There's a big open hole in the ceiling. Another one, man, he had this very, very nice 5.0 Mustang, all white, man, with the black rims. And he's gonna have to get another vehicle, say the least, because a big tree fell on it, right? And so you find yourselves in the world, enjoying the things of the world, and just to see that they're getting taken away. So much so that you take pictures and you're devastated by it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just goes to show how when you come into this truth, we have a tendency to let go of those things in the world. Even though we might admire some of the things, we can distance ourselves from those things easier. And that's why we're encouraging people to come into this truth, so you can start practicing these things that we practice. You know what I'm saying? And it won't be such a shell shock. I read something where some lady was like, she was devastated because her favorite oak tree got struck by lightning and it fell or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just things like that that'll allow you to come up out the matrix when you come into this truth, when you start practicing these things, right? Because his ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and the places that he has prepared for us is way better than what we're living in right now. And so, when we see stuff like this, man, it's kind of like to hell with it. We can really care whether we have it or we don't, because we know where we're going. But Con,
man, had a friend too, and this is because I'm only saying this because you said coming out of the matrix. We're so used to reading about different plagues and tragedies that happen in the Bible and understanding prophecy that we, like you said, prepared our minds already. But had somebody say the death toll that was in Augusta, Georgia, right, in a group chat, and somebody else said death, people died, right? When you think about natural disasters, it should be common sense that there's a chance that people may die. But we've gotten so, as a people, right? And I'm not just talking about Israelites. I'm talking about your fellow countrymen and, people in your country. We've gotten so pacified and so comfortable that we think nothing is going to harm us. Not even a natural disaster. That's how comfortable we got. We think that, at that point, they're saying to themselves, not even God can harm them, right? If you're surprised that a natural disaster caused multiple deaths, right? That means you're in the matrix bad, right? You're in the matrix bad because the things that can happen to you in this earth in your lifetime is unimaginable, right? People think that a third world war won't change their life. Yeah, it's not going to change our life. It's just going to be a bunch of military. Yeah, it's not going to. Come on now. We talked about this when the guys got together last week, right? It's not a coincidence that airlines are shut down and nobody can fly in or out for 3 days. It's not a coincidence that cellular towers go down and AT&T users can't use their phones, right? It's not a coincidence that all these meat products and stuff are getting recalled. Look, man, other countries are tapped into what we got going on, and they can influence us in ways that we can't imagine. Because we over here at Babylon the Great, as a great empire, right? We base our power off of our military might, right? But other than our military might, we got nothing, right? We get all of our stuff from other countries, man, whether it be food, whether it be material, whatever it is. So they have the power to make us a third world country. It's definitely going to touch you. You know what I'm saying?
Think about, I know my rib was just bringing this up the other day. She was saying how she doesn't want to buy any more store-bought bread, right? But just think about just something simple as bread. And if it were to disappear out of the stores, how many of us know how to make bread? I know everybody you see on the screen, right? We got somebody in our household that can make bread, whether it's leavened or unleavened, right? But think about in the actual world and where the people are asleep, them jokers don't know how to make no bread.
Yeah,
if bread go off the shelves, bro, they will never eat bread for the rest of their life.
Yeah, the thing about the truth is, man, this Bible teach you everything. If you ain't got a bathroom or a toilet, the Bible teach you what to do. Dig a hole, cover it up, right? It teach you how to be clean, right? Because it said that the Most High God doesn't want to come through your camp and look at that stuff when he returns, right? It teaches us how to, like the brother said, make our own bread, right? It teaches us all those things. So when stuff comes to us, we're prepared, right? It teaches you the concepts of gardening, right? And planting and growing and tilling and, keeping animals and things of that nature. The Bible teach you, like the brother Yeshaya said, how to survive. And that's the only way you come out the matrix, is if you actually read and apply it to yourself.
Hey, man, look. I got to say something real quick. Only because it's fitting.
A fun fact, even in nature, man, the brother just mentioned about using the bathroom and stuff like that, right?
Have faith, let the Spirit guide you. If you ask Father, if I
Listen to this.
My Bible is a key to survival.
Look, I played that at the beginning for a reason, because it's true. Like the brothers just went into, the Bible is literally your key to survival. Like the brother mentioned, if you ain't got nowhere to release yourself at, the scriptures will tell you what to do. Scriptures will show you how to make bread. The scriptures not only show you how to do things, but it's also the key to life, right? This is why it's important to understand two things, right? One, going back to Isaiah chapter 55, right? Where we was at. Let me share this tab again. Like the brother Denal read, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord, right? So we got to know that the Lord is not going to recall things to our remembrance in the way that which we would prefer, but that he would prefer. Can y'all hear me? Hold on, Salah. I think I'm having some Wi-Fi issues. But again, I believe that that's the way that the Lord preferred to call things to mind, is through this hurricane, to give us the desires of our heart. Like the brother said, his mom was thinking about not doing traditional, bougie type of, camping for this tabernacle season, but rather choosing to, kind of make it more grievous on yourself, to try to embody how it was back then. And that's why, going back to the prophet Isaiah, who prophesied well, what did he also say in Isaiah? What does it say? It says, remember the former things of old. Remember the former things of old, right? How do we call to mind the remembrance of the former things? What are we supposed to do? Hey, keep them tabs open. That's how you call to mind the remembrance of the former things, right? So let's go take a turn real quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy 16 and 16. Let's read this real quick. If a brother could read this for me.
Deuteronomy 16 and 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall appear before the Lord empty.
Right. So it's 3 feasts that all males shall appear, right? Feast of unleavened bread is synonymous with the Passover, if for those who didn't know. The Feast of Weeks is just Pentecost or first fruits, right? And the Feast of Tabernacles is also referred to in Exodus 23 as the Feast of Ingathering, right? So it's the same thing. Now, I wanted to read that specifically for a reason. Let's go here real quick. Let me go to the blue letter, right? Deuteronomy 16. We just read that. Now, I wanted to go to the blue letter for a specific reason. Why? Because I wanted to show you exactly, what is a tabernacle, right? So this is Strong's H 5521 Sukkah, right? And that's the word for tabernacle. But the outline of biblical usage, what I'm looking at right here, It says thicket, covered booth, thicket, booth, rude or temporary shelter, right? Now, where did I go to? Let me share this tab. So when you Google pictures of a thicket, right, this is what you kind of see. You know what I'm saying? This is what you kind of see, living amongst the trees and the forest and a bunch of shrubs and bushes. That's really all a thicket is, right? And this is the conditions that our people dwelled in for 40 years, making tents and homes out of what you see on the screen right here, out of tree limbs, out of the grass from the bushes, right? Living in these conditions in land. We dwelled in the wilderness for 40 years. Going back to the pictures that we seen, Salakia, let me share this tab. Going back to some of the pictures that we see that people having their homes crash down, right? But more importantly, we see conditions where you got a bunch of stuff blocking roadways, right? Now, what does that have to do with a thicket, brother? Well, that's just showing you that, again, we're so far removed from, being in the wilderness, coming right out of Egypt, that it's kind of foreign to us to think about how we use this material that you see in these videos, how we use this, all these trees and stuff that you see, and we made homes out of this stuff. People are crying because nature destroyed their homes when nature used to be our home. So that's why, again, it's important to remember the former things, man. Remember remember the way things used to be. Because if we really got in our word like we should, and we read, and we studied, and we remembered these things, it would be a lot easier on us during times of natural disaster like this to let these things go. All this is materialistic, all is vanity anyway. These things can be replaced. What can never be replaced is your life. And you only got one life, so why not live it for the Most High? Why not for 8 days out the year afflict your soul, dwell in these booths like the Lord commanded us to do, to remember the things, to remember us coming out of Egypt, living in tents for 40 years, right? Living in thickets, living in outside conditions that people right now are complaining about, right? And, it really makes sense, though, that our people complain any way it goes, because I had a precept written down here. This isn't nothing new, right? We was doing the same thing when we came out of Egypt. Let me go to the book of Exodus, right? Exodus 16. It ain't nothing new that you see our people complaining about the conditions that they're living in, because we did the same thing when we came out of Egypt. When the Lord first took us out of Egypt and we was on a journey, we was in the wilderness, this is all of what you see right here. Let's start at if a brother could, let's start at Exodus 16. Let's start at verse 1. We're going to read through verse number 4.
Exodus 16:1. And they took their journeys from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. And on the 15th day of the second month, after their departing out of the land of Egypt, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness.
So pause real quick. The whole congregation is, whispering, man, they murmuring, right? What are they saying? Let's read verse 3 and 4.
And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
Look, they're complaining right now. They're saying, look, would to God, man. Would to God we have died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt, right? They're saying that all because they had it good, right? They had it good in Egypt, and Egypt was the land of their captivity. The same way America is our land of captivity. And some people would be complaining that if the Lord delivered us out of America, man, we would just have rather died in America. At least we got to eat. At least we got to sleep. Our people are complaining, living in America right now, because they're going to be inconvenienced for a few days. I'm seeing posts, right? I didn't share all the posts that I've seen. I just took a couple of them and wanted to add them to the lesson. But I'm seeing posts of people complaining to Georgia Power. Georgia Power, where's my power? Police officers, where are you at? Not even understanding that the same people who work for these companies that y'all hate, that y'all show hate towards each and every month that you pay your bills to them, right, are the same people that have been affected by the storm in the same manner you have.
Come, man. Georgia Power. Georgia Power. It's been a day, really, right? And you got people making comments like, "Man, Georgia Power is so trash." Da, 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 da. It's like, bro, you realize the whole CSRA is trash, bro. Like, it's not gonna get fixed in 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, how fast you want these jokers to work? You know what I'm saying? They only got so much employees. You know what I'm saying? And let's be honest, man, them employees, man, they really regular people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they're the Chick-fil-A of power. You know what I'm saying? They're like, to say the least, they're niggas working for Georgia Power, bro. I know people that's working for Georgia Power, bro. I know people that work for Georgia Power, smoke weed every day, all that, bro. They don't care. So y'all complaining. Y'all really was complaining in less than 24 hours. And it's like, bro, you realize how much damage y'all went through. It's not going to be fixed in a day, bro. And they can't get to you first just because you want them to.
Right. Because people don't realize and conceptualize that these people have been affected by the storm just as much as you have. So some of these men who are linemen, right, who have to fix the city's electricity, have family that have been affected in the storm by the storm in the same manner in which your family has been, right? So it's easy for us to complain about, what's not happening right now because I want it to happen right now, but that's very dishonest, and that shows a lack of character and integrity, because a lot of people are dealing with like this situation. Like the brother said, it's millions of people without power. The whole area is trash right now. You can't seriously expect your little section to get fixed first, especially when a lot of these linemen have to fight their way out of their own neighborhoods to be able to get to work. Then they got to fight through the work to be able to fix the lines. So, but again, the point, it's nothing new. It's nothing new, because we did the same thing coming out of Egypt, right? Now let's go to the book of Numbers. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11. Because even though we read verses 1 through 4, did we read verse 4? Read verse 4 real quick. So we didn't read verse 4.
Verse 4, then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
So this is the manna, right? The Lord is saying, okay, since y'all complaining, I'm gonna get manna, right? I'm gonna let it rain down from the kingdom. I'm gonna let it rain down from the sky, from the Shemayim, the firmament, right? And I'm gonna see if you're gonna walk in my law or not, right? So they complain, and the Lord gave them manna, right? The Lord gave them something to eat because they were complaining, right? Now let's read Numbers chapter 11. We're going to read verses. This is going to be pretty lengthy. We're just going to read verses 1 through 10, and then we're going to jump down towards the end of the chapter, right? But let's start at verse number 1.
Con. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them, that they were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again, and said, who shall give us flesh to eat?
Now, before you keep reading, again, you can see verses 1 through 5, our people are still complaining. They got manna in Exodus 16, and now they're still complaining about it in Numbers 11, right? There's a lot of time that has passed between that and this period right now, right? I'm not saying it's been 150 years, you know what I'm saying, because Moses is still on the scene at this time, but I'm just saying that you would have thought that because the Lord gave them something to cure their hunger, that they would be cool with that, but they're still complaining, right? Now let's start at verse 5 and let's read through 10.
Come. We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely.
Right, they're talking about what they ate in Egypt still. The Lord delivered them from the hand of their captives, and they're still complaining about what they were able to do in their captivity. How would you feel, right, if your child was in jail and you get your child out of jail, and your child, when you get out of jail, is mad because, man, I got to share a room with my sibling, right? Shoot, in prison, I was in my own cell. You know what I'm saying? In prison, I got to do what I want. They're mad at you because you get them out of jail, you bring them home, and now they got to kind of share a room with somebody else. Or maybe that's not a good example because prison share cells. Let's just say now they got to go to work. Now they actually got to get a real job and they got to work for money. And their job is kind of, bit hard. They're going to say, man, in jail, I really just got to do what I want. That sounds crazy to me, right? Let's keep reading though. Salakia.
Khan, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes.
Complaining. Keep reading.
And the manna was a coriander seed, and the color thereof, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was the taste of fresh oil.
Mm-hmm.
And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout the families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased.
See, the Lord gave us manna and we still complain. The same way, people are making with this storm, that's taking place. People are making ways for people to get gas, get food, but people are still complaining. Why y'all ain't accepting cards? Why y'all ain't accepting cash? Why y'all only giving 4 gallons? It's the same thing that's happening now, right? Now we're gonna tie all this into keeping the tabs, but all of these things is a problem, right? It's a problem with our society. We get in these spirits of anger and frustration and unsatisfactory because we don't remember the former things. We don't keep our tabs open when we search something. So therefore, we forget what we're searching for, and therefore it causes us to do a multitude of different things in life that's not pleasing to the Most High. Let's jump down to verse number 31. Let's start at 31. We're gonna read through 33.
And there went from a wind from the Lord, and there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side,
Mm-hmm.
and as it were a day's journey on the other side round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth.
Right.
And
let's keep reading.
And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, and the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague.
So you go read about how this lustful people, because they weren't satisfied with what the Lord gave them, they went a-lusting, right? And if you go back and read verse number 4, it was because there was a mixed multitude among them lusting as well. And that mixed multitude, you could say, kind of inspired our people to do the same. The same way nowadays, we're living amongst a mixed multitude, and those mixed multitude of people have a different range of feelings and emotions towards a certain things, and it kind of influences our feelings and emotions toward a certain thing, and it's displeasing in the sight of the Lord. So sometimes with this is showing that how your lust can cause you to go off and even die, right? Your lust can cause you to go off and die. Your lust can cause you, again, like I said earlier, to do things that are not pleasing unto the Most High God, right? So that's why it's always best to keep the tabs open. I had a precept written down here. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? But it's best to keep the tabs open, man, because if you don't remember, the type of God you serve, this is what causes you to go off of lusting, and it's going to cause you to get put to death, right? These are things that can happen because you don't keep the tabs open, because you're not remembering the former things, and therefore the Lord got to smite you, right? I spelled this wrong. Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28. Now we're gonna read verses 54 and 56, not through, but 54, and then jump down to 56, right? But Deuteronomy started 54. Deuteronomy 28.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and starting at verse 54, that the man that is tender among you and very delicate.
Wait, Slacky, start over and read that again from the top.
So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
Now look, so this is one of the curses that would be put on our people, right? We were going to have an evil eye towards our brother, right? And in spite of this storm, I've seen posts. I forgot to screenshot it and share it. I don't want to go search for it right now, but it was a post that's saying, there was some brothers that then robbed the gas station and took all the cigars. And another lady posted that somebody got their car broken into, in spite of this storm. That's a part of a curse, right? And that's what kind of happens when we don't recall those former things to mind. When we don't understand what the Lord did for us when he brought us out of Egypt, when we don't try to make sense of it through the scriptures that he had written down for us, we begin to go a-lusting, and our lust causes us to do certain things, right? One of those things is having an evil eye, right? And then it causes us to do certain things against our brothers and sisters that the law told us not to do. Let's read verse 56.
Verse 56, that the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her foot upon the ground, for the delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter.
So all of these things are happening in spite of this storm. You can see that there are certain women who are talking terrible on the internet right now. I've seen a few posts. I didn't want to screenshot it. I did want to screenshot it, but again, I can't remember who posted it, but I've seen a few posts where there was some women talking terrible about their children's father or their, the person that they're dating because of how they handled the situation of this hurricane that took place, right? And the impact thereof. And some women are displeased about it, leading them to say certain things about their child's father or their husbands or their boyfriends, whatever you want to call them, on the internet, right? And it's nothing but madness. And it's crazy. Because again, everybody is affected in some kind of way, right? But see, when you go a-lusting and you don't remember the former things, right? You forget, that there's a way to handle everything. You forget, if you're not reading the scriptures, how the scriptures gives us a key, or it gives us a key to survive, right? It gives us a key to handle certain things, right? Let me go to the book of Exodus chapter 20, right? Because remember, Deuteronomy 28:54, evil eye. Let's go to Exodus 20 real quick. Exodus chapter 20. Let's start at verse number 13. And we're going to read through 17.
Gotcha. Exodus 20 and 13. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Keep going. I'm Salakia.
Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet.
Salakia. You don't got to read that, right? Wanted to read Exodus 20:13 through 17. It's important why we read this, because again, evil eye, right? We're talking about a-lusting. When these people went a-lusting, it causes people to do certain things that are against the commandments of the Lord. Like I said, I seen a few posts where they were saying people's cars was getting broken into, some people's houses were getting broken into, and they robbed a gas station, right? One of the things that the Lord tells us to do is thou shalt not steal, right? But because we covet our neighbor's possessions, or we covet certain things during a certain period of time where we don't have it, it causes us to separate ourselves from the spirit of the Most High God, and it causes us to go a-lusting. And through our lust, we commit these deadly sins right here, right? All of these, right? And all of them, are considered deadly sins. We shouldn't break any commandment of the Lord, not even the least one, But it's just emphasizing how much you see these big 4 commandments right here take place in times where people are desperate, right? When the woman is desperate for a get back or a love and affection because she's not getting it from her husband, or she's desperate for get back, she's desperate for vengeance from her husband, she'll go sleep with another man. Thou shalt not commit adultery. You see that happen, the situation with Cardi being Offset, right? This whole situation that had transpired with them. Thou shalt not kill. We see people kill during times where they're desperate for money. We just talked about it this past week, Wednesday, on live, when we did a Let's Talk About It for Wednesday, going into the Young Dolph murder case. How the people who killed him were desperate for $100K. And the people who ordered him to be killed were desperate for, I guess you could say, power. But only power within the Black community, which isn't much power, right? Thou shalt not steal. Just like we mentioned, we see people stealing. I've seen posts where they said that people have stolen and robbed during a storm, right? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And somebody's quick to tell on somebody else, even if somebody didn't do it, right? I've seen, Salaki, before you go, I've seen comments where, like I said, this past Wednesday, we was talking about the Dolph trial, right? We was talking about the Dolph trial, and they were saying that they pinned the murder on Yo Gotti's brother, who's now dead, right? But they were saying they pinned that on him because he's dead. So that way they could take the attention off of who really set that hit up, which people say was Yo Gotti. But either way it go, that's bearing false witness. You know what I'm saying? And this is all happening because we don't remember the former things. We don't keep the tabs open. Therefore, we don't even know that we should be sleeping in tabs 8 days out the year, right? Because we're coveting the wrong things. And when they're stripped from us, we all hell breaks loose. But Con, keep going. My bad. You can go ahead.
I was going to ask if you could go back to Exodus 16:1 real quick.
Con.
You're supposed to have the tab open.
Look, man, get off my case, bro.
Nah.
Exodus 16:1.
Yeah, I want to read this real quick, pull out a point. So then they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin. Right? I want to make that a point because, a lot of people fantasize the wilderness and romanticize the wilderness. And, can't wait to be saved out of our captivity, go into the wilderness and I heard, somebody said they're going to be flipping pancakes in the wilderness and, it's going to be a fun time. We're going to be singing and dancing the praises of the Lord and God's going to rescue us. Look, man, it says the wilderness of sin. Like the brother's saying, man, that's the chaos, man. That wilderness is synonymous with chaos. It's going to be chaotic, right? You're going to see a lot of looting and robbing. You're going to see a lot of evil towards your brother. You're going to see all that stuff in the wilderness. Right, you're gonna see the purging of the rebels. The only way to get the purging of the rebels, I'm sorry, is death. You're gonna see a lot of death in the wilderness. The wilderness ain't gonna be something that is just like a vacation, right? We live in these houses and apartments or Airbnbs or hotels, whatever. We live in these buildings, and so when Feast of Tabernacles come, a lot of us, we see it as a camping trip, right? We see it as a way to get. Guess what? It's different. A camping trip is different from living out there, right? Go and talk to them homeless people that are living in tent city, man, that decide to live out there. They ain't got no running water. You know what I'm saying? All they do is read books because they got no electricity, right? They in them tents, right? They got to fight for food, protect their stuff, got to have their eye on a swivel even when they sleeping, right? This wilderness is going to be a wilderness of sin, right? Because the wilderness is not the promised land. Right, a lot of people romanticize the wilderness like, yeah, we made it to the wilderness. Yeah, you made it to the wilderness, but that's still not the promised land, right? You got to understand it was great righteous men that died in the wilderness. When we talk about Aaron and Moses and things of that nature and a lot of other priests that were in there that had the spirit of God, right? You got to think. Moses needed help, so his spirit went to 70 other elders, and they all died in the wilderness. Right? So it's going to be some death in the wilderness, whether you righteous or whether you not, it's not going to be a time of fun and gladness. Right? So the thing about it is you got to stay prepared in your mind, or you got to, like the brother said, keep the tabs open and keep it in your history, bro, because you don't want to get to the wilderness and then be disheartened because somebody stole from you. And now you out of the spirit because you wasn't expecting a brother to have an evil eye towards you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point I wanted to make real quick, man.
Hey, like we always say, man, you got to kind of expect the unexpected, because the first precept we read today was Isaiah. Well, did Isaiah prophesy, saying, "Our thoughts are not his thoughts," and not talking about our thoughts aren't Isaiah's thoughts. When Isaiah said our thoughts are not his thought, he was prophesying about the Lord. Our thoughts are not the thoughts of the Most High God, right? Our ways are not his ways. So you always got to be ready for anything that can happen, which is why you have to keep the tabs open. You have to remember the former things of old, right? Because if you don't, it will cause you to go a-lusting, and it will cause you to sin, because you're coveting after something. And one of the laws that the Lord gave us was thou shalt not covet, especially if it's of your neighbors. This is why brothers and sisters commit adultery, right? Because they want that woman who's married, or the sister the sister wants to sleep with another man. You know what I'm saying? That's not her own. And it's a problem, because again, thou shalt not covet. We have to keep the tabs open. When we're searching for something, right? We're on this search for everlasting life. On this search of everlasting life, you got to keep these spiritual tabs open, right? We talked about keeping the change last weekend. I think it was, we did that lesson last weekend, because we said we can't afford to give anything away, because we need every ounce of everything. That is crazy that this hurricane just happened, because right now people need every little dollar and dime that they have to be able to help themselves get out of certain situations. They don't have no power in their house. They need gas in their car so they can charge their phone in their car. It costs money to do that. You need every last dime that you got to be able to put gas in your car to charge your phone, right? We're in a season of feasting. We're in the season of dwelling in tents, dwelling in booths. We're doing that not because we just decided, oh man, let's sleep in tents, 8 days out the year, once a year, because who cares? To hell. We're doing it because we're remembering the former things, right? Because the Most High God gave us commandment and we want to obey him, because we're glorifying the Lord for the what is and what will be, right? So let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 23, right? Right? Because we're going to get an understanding of what actually is tabernacles, right? And then part 2, like we mentioned, is going to be a 2-part lesson. Next week, we'll go into, why. Next week, we'll go into the why. Right now, we're touching on the what is it. Next week, we're going to touch on the why, right? Let's start at verse number 33. So Leviticus 23. If a brother don't mind reading this, let's start at verse 33. We're going to read through 36.
Leviticus 23 and 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein.
So the what? Just 36. So the what is the Feast of Tabernacles, right? It's us dwelling in booths for 7 days, right? Now, this is going to be a snippet as to the why we do this. Let's read verses 39 through 43.
39. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered all the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days, and all that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
Remember,
and
Slakia. So remember the former things that your generations may know that I am the Lord Salakia. Let me read this again. It says that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Right? Remember the former things, right? Our people have to even go back to before Egypt to understand why do we obey the commandments of the Lord in the way that which we do, you know? Why is it important to keep the tabs open and to remember the former things? Because the Lord gave us commandments to follow. And the only way we're going to ever receive eternal life is through the following of his commandments, right? That's the only way, right? I am the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. No man can come to the Father but by me. What is that? John 6 and 14, John 14 and 6, one of the two. But when Christ quoted that, right, the only way we can get to the Father is through him. What did Christ do? We got to go through Christ. We got to have the faith, right? And those faith are backed by actions. You can't believe you'll receive salvation and do nothing to obtain it, right? Because belief is not just saying I believe, but then going out, you know what I'm saying, and a lusting and then killing somebody, or a lusting and then sleeping with another man's wife, right? That's not belief in Christ. Belief in Christ is doing the things that we must do in order to receive that eternal life, right? And that comes by us keeping the tabs open to remember the former things. We do it because the Lord brought us out of Egypt. So like I said at the beginning of the lesson, we want to keep the tabs open because we want to be appreciative for what we have now, for what is and what will be, right? But the only way we can do that is by understanding what was. And this is the what was right here. That you may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. For how long? 40 years. And that'll be for the next lesson when we go into the understanding of how long, you know, the why, some of the things like the brother Azrael mentioned that we're going on through the wilderness, how we have to endure certain afflictions, right? There was a lot that went on between us leaving Egypt and us getting into the land of Canaan that floweth with milk and honey that the Lord promised to our fathers, right? So we'll cover a bit of that in our next lesson. But again, this is just a reminder to keep your tabs open, right? And next week, guess what the title is going to be? Time to close the tabs, right? Because everything has a purpose, man. Everything has a reason. And the reason that we're doing this little light introductory into our tabernacles is to encourage people, man, you got to do these things in order to help you to remember these things, right? To be appreciative, to glorify the Most High God. That's why we keep tabernacles, right? That's why we keep Passover. That's why we keep the Feast of Pentecost, because we do these things to glorify the Most High. We're appreciative for what he did for us. And we have to show that appreciation by calling these things to mind, being obedient because he told us to keep them in mind, right? But with that being said, I ain't got nothing else to say. The brothers got anything to add to that?
Man, on time lesson.
Con, man. Well, again, man, we want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for another Sabbath day of rest. Also for, you know, keeping us and preserving us because, hey, the storm touched where brothers live at too. And even though it didn't get as bad as it did here, as in other parts of the state, the Lord could have caused a tree to fall over and take one of us out like it did 2 young children and a mother, right? So we just, again, keep these tabs open, man. We remember these things that happen we're appreciative for what is and what will be because of what was, right? And like I said, man, most high willing, everybody have a blessed Sabbath day. Most high willing, everybody stay encouraged. Most high willing, everybody has a great feast season. I know that we don't all kind of keep it at the same time, but Lord willing, when your Day of Atonement is here, when your Feast of Trumpets is here, when your Feast of Ingathering is here, Lord willing, it's mighty, right? All praise to the Most High God. Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh, wait, hold on. Lord have mercy. See, I'm getting old with this technology. I'm supposed to end stream. There we go.